Sir John Graham Dalyell was a Scottish advocate, antiquary and naturalist, the second son of Sir Robert Dalyell, 4th Baronet, who died in 1791, by Elizabeth, only daughter of Nichol Graham of Garmore, Perthshire, was born at Binns, Linlithgowshire, in August 1775. When an infant he fell from a table upon a stone floor and became lame for life. He attended classes first at St. Andrews, and secondly at the University of Edinburgh, and while there qualified himself for the Scotch bar, and became a member of the Faculty of Advocates in 1796. The work in the Parliament House proved to be too fatiguing for him, but he acquired a considerable business as a consulting advocate, and although a younger son and not wealthy, he made it a rule of his legal practice not to accept a fee from a relative, a widow, or an orphan. In 1797 he was elected a member of the Society of Antiquaries of Scotland, and was chosen the first vice-president of that society. He also became a member of the Society of Arts for Scotland, and served as president 1839–40, devoting himself to letters with an enthusiasm which animated him to the last. He soon turned his attention to the manuscript treasures of the Advocates' Library, and in 1798 produced his first work, Fragments of Scottish History, which contained, among other matter of interest, the diary of Robert Birrell, Burgess of Edinburgh from 1532 to 1608. This was followed in 1801 by Scottish poems of the 16th century, in 2 vols. In the preface to this work the author says that in the course of his preparatory researches he had examined about 700 volumes of manuscripts. In addition to his knowledge of antiquarian law, he had also an extensive acquaintance with natural history, and in 1814 gave to the public his very valuable observations on several species of planerae, illustrated by colored figures of living animals. In 1832, John G. Dalyell, advocate, is listed as residing at 54 Hanover Street in Edinburgh's New Town. On the 22nd of August 1836 he was created a knight by letters patent, and on the 1st of February 1841 succeeded his brother, Sir James Dalyell, as 6th Baronet of Binns. Rare and Remarkable Animals of Scotland, with practical observations on the nature, he finished in 2 vols. In 1847, the publication of this beautifully engraved work was unfortunately delayed for nearly 5 years, owing to a dispute and a law process with the engraver, and the delay deprived Dalyell of the full credit of several of his discoveries in connection with Medusa. The first volume of his last and great work, The Powers of the Creator Displayed in the Creation, or Observations on Life Amidst the Various Forms of the Humbler Tribes of Animated Nature, was published in 1861. The second volume, after the author's death, was brought out in 1853, under the superintendence of his sister, Miss Elizabeth Dalyell, and Professor John Fleming, D.D., while the third volume was delayed until 1858. Dalyell became an enrolled member of the Highland and Agricultural Society of Scotland in 1807, and in 1817 was presented by his fellow members with a piece of plate for the invention of a self-regulating calendar. He was one of the original promoters of the Zoological Gardens of Edinburgh and preces of the Board of Directors in 1841. He died at 14 Great King Street, Edinburgh, the 7th of June 1851, and was buried beside his ancestors in Abercorn Church. He was never married, and his successor in the baronetcy was his brother, Sir William Cunningham Cavendish Dalyell. Works. Besides the publications already mentioned, Sir John Dalyell was the author, editor, or translator of the following works: Fragments of Scottish History, Constable, Edinburgh. Tracts on the Nature of Animals and Vegetables by L. Spallanzani, a translation, 1799, and another translation of the same work in 1803. Journal of the Transactions in Scotland during the contest between the adherents of Queen Mary and those of her son, by R. Bannatyne, 1806, a tract chiefly relative to monastic antiquities, with some account of a recent search from the remains of the Scottish kings interred in the Abbey of Dunfermline, 1809. A vellum copy of this book is believed to have been the only work printed on vellum in Scotland for nearly 3 centuries. Some account of an ancient manuscript of Martial's epigrams, 1811, shipwrecks and disasters at sea, with a sketch of several expedients for preserving the lives of mariners, anon. 1812, 3 vols. The Chronicles of Scotland, by Robert Lindsay of Pitscotty, 1814, 2 vols. Annals of Scotland, 1514 to 1591, by G. Mariory Banks, 1814. Remarks on the Antiquities, illustrated by the Chartularies of the Episcopal See of Aberdeen, 1820. Observations on the Natural History of Bees, by F. Huber, 1821. Historical illustration of the origin and progress of the passions and their influence on the conduct of mankind, 1825, 2 vols. A brief analysis of the ancient records of the Bishopric of Moray, 1826. A brief analysis of the Chartularies of the Abbey of Cambuskenneth, the Chapel Royal of Stirling, and the Preceptory of St. Anthony at Leith, 1828. The Darker Superstitions of Scotland, illustrated from History and Practice, 1834. Musical Memoirs of Scotland, 1849. * Musical Practice, a work left in manuscript. Sir John was also a contributor to the Philosophical Journal. Reports of the British Association, New Philosophical Journal, Encyclopaedia Britannica, Douglas's Peerage, and Burke's Baronetage. Attribution Bose, George Clement. Dalyell, John Graham, in Stephen Leslie, Dictionary of National Biography 13. London, Smith, Elder and Amp Co.